Okay, so organic chemistry is the is a study of organic compounds. All right, it's a study of organic compounds. Now, when you are talking about organic compounds, you are basically talking about compounds which contain a carbon in them, right? A carbon in them. Those are organic compounds. Now, we are talking about compounds which contain a carbon in them, but when you're talking about organic compounds, of course, we are going to remove carbons. If you see, this is called carbonate. So we remove it from being an organic compound, all right? So when you're talking about these organic compounds, they are really a lot. Just compounds which contain a carbon, and mostly it should be a carbon and a hydrogen. So if you have got a carbon which is bonded to a hydrogen, this is called an hydrocarbon. Why are we calling it hydrocarbon? Because there is hydrogen and there is a carbon. That is why we refer to it as an hydrocarbon. So hydrocarbons are organic compounds. So if you have got a carbon with an hydrogen and then let's say with oxygen, this is not an hydrocarbon. Why? Because you have got oxygen. All right, and hydrocarbon should only have carbon and hydrogen, only those two. So these are organic compounds. Now, most of the organic compounds they react with oxygen. Okay, you are going to have an organic compound. Let me just say compound, but you know that this is organic compound I'm talking about. So these are going to react with oxygen, and what they produce is carbon dioxide gas and water. So you need to know every time an organic compound, and basically mostly we are talking about hydrocarbons, but let me just say organic compound, when this react with oxygen they produce carbon dioxide and water. Now a reaction where a compound reacts with oxygen is called a combustion reaction. Combustion means burning. So you are burning an organic compound in oxygen, and so that we call it a combustion reaction. What is a combustion reaction? It is a reaction in which you react something with oxygen. Okay, is that okay? Is that okay? All right. Now, there are some properties which, okay, so there are some properties which organic compounds exhibit. Right? There are some properties which organic compounds exhibit. Now, what are some properties of organic compounds? We call them properties or characteristics. How are you going to know that this is an organic compound? So, one of the characteristics of organic compounds is one, they do not dissolve in water. So, since they don't dissolve, you call them insoluble in water. All right. So, organic compounds are insoluble in water, meaning they don't dissolve. And the reason they don't dissolve is because water only dissolves compounds which are charged. Now, I don't want you to understand that for now. So, what you should just know is that organic compounds don't dissolve in water, so we call them insoluble. Okay, but organic compounds are soluble in organic solvents. So just last time we talked about a solvent, a solute, and a solution. A solvent is just anything where you can dissolve something. So organic compounds can only dissolve in organic solvents. For example, benzene. Okay, you can dissolve organic compounds in benzene, paraffin, because those are organic compounds. Another characteristic of organic compounds is that they do not conduct electricity. That is another one you need to know. They do not conduct electricity. So electricity can't pass through them. That is another property for organic compounds. Another property is that they have got low melting point, meaning that at just a small temperature, these are going to be able to melt. If they were solids, are going to become liquid just at a very small temperature. Another property is that they are volatile. Okay, volatile. Do you know the meaning of being volatile? Hello? Okay. So something that is volatile, meaning that they can evaporate. Okay, they can easily evaporate. That is, they are volatile. All right. Is that okay? Okay. Another characteristic of organic compounds is that they are flammable. Now, the meaning of flammable is that they can catch a fire. All right, like you don't play with fire near them. For example, benzene. Benzene is an organic compound. If you bring fire near this one, it is going to catch a fire and you burn. So you don't bring fire near these. All right. So these are some of the characteristics of organic compounds. Now remember, I just talked about hydrocarbons, right? I just mentioned the word hydrocarbon. So hydrocarbons, we've said these are compounds which have got a carbon and an hydrogen in them. A carbon and an hydrogen. Now, how do you get to what are the different types anyway of these hydrocarbons? Now, hydrocarbons, we have got those hydrocarbons which have only a single bond. Okay, there is a single bond between a carbon and an hydrogen. So those hydrocarbons where there is a single bond between carbon and hydrogen, we call them alkanes. There are also hydrocarbons which have got a double bond, all right? There is a double bond between the carbon and the hydrogen. Actually, it's between the carbon. This one, the double bond is between one carbon and another carbon, actually. And then a double bond between two carbons, such a hydrocarbon is called an alkene. Okay, you put E there. And then you have got also hydrocarbons which have got a triple bond between the carbon atoms. So we're going to have a carbon and then you are going to have three bonds like that. So such an hydrocarbon is called an alkene. So these are the hydrocarbons that we need to understand. We have got alkanes which have got only a single bond, alkenes have got a double bond, and alkenes have got a triple bond. So in this discussion, we are going to start with alkanes as an hydrocarbon. All right, we are going to start with alkanes. So you need to understand this like very much because they really bring this in the exam very much. Okay, you need to understand like this class very, very much. Now, we have said alkanes are hydrocarbons which have got only a single bond between the carbon and another carbon. Okay, we have a single bond between two carbons. Please, you don't have any double bond in hydrocarbons. I mean, in alkanes, you only have a single bond. So they have got a general formula. Their formula is CnH2n plus 2. You need to know this. This is the general formula for all alkanes, okay? So you name alkanes depending with how many carbons they have. So the alkane with one carbon, if you only have one carbon, such an alkane is going to start with meth. Okay? You start with meth. Actually, we call this as a prefix. So let me write it like this. I'm going to show the number of carbons and then the prefix. The prefix is just the name that is going to come in front. So if you have got one carbon, we call this as a meth. And these you need to know because they are going to come. If you have got two carbons, we call this as eth. If you have got three carbons, this is called prop. If you have got four carbons, this is called but. Five carbons, this is called pent. Six carbons, this is called hex. Seven carbons is called hept. Eight carbons is called oct. Nine carbons is called non. We also have 10 carbons. This is called dec. Okay? So, from the word alkane, the way you can see alkane. So when you have got an alkane with one carbon, the name that is supposed to be is supposed to start with meth. Prefix means something that comes in front. So what you do is from alkane, you are going to remove these three letters. This one. Okay, you are going to remove this. So if you have got an alkane with only one carbon, yes, hept, yes. So when you have got an alkane with one carbon, you can write its formula. All right, the formula, put where there is N, you are going to put 1. So it's going to be C1, but you don't show 1. Okay, you are going to have H. This is a H. And then you also put a 1 here. So it is going to be 2 times 1, which is a 2, and then plus 2, that will give you 4. So the alkane with one carbon is going to be C, and then H with a 4. Now the name of this alkane, you are going to remove these first three letters. Since it only has one carbon, you are going to put meth. Okay? You are going to write meth. And then you are going to pick these last three letters, A, N, E. So the name is methane. Methane is an alkane with 3 carbons. Methane is an alkane with 3 carbons. So let's talk about the one which has got 4 carbons here. So again, come in the same formula which you are able to see here. So we're going to write C, but where there is N, you are going to put a 4. And then H, where there is N here, you are also going to put a 4 because you still have a 4, right? So it's going to be 2 times 4, which is 8. And then plus 2, that will give you 10. So this is the formula for the alkane with 4 carbons. And what will be the name? Remember the alkane with 4 carbons? It starts with but. Okay, so we are going to say but. And then what is going to happen is you get now these 3 letters. You put them here, A, N, E. So the name is butane. Okay, so just like that, that is how you get to write the formula and also the name of alkanes. Is this okay? All right. So you need to know how to write the formula, how to write the name, and also how to name I mean how to draw the structure of that compound. So those are things you need to know on alkanes. So let's say you've been asked to draw the structure, okay, and the formula for propane. So remember, prop means three carbons. Now this one ends in ane, meaning that it's an alkane, okay, with three carbons. Remember the general formula is CN H2N plus 2. So therefore the formula for propane is going to be C. Where there is N, you put 3. And then H, where there is N, he also put 3. So it will be 2 times 3, which is 6, plus 2, which is 8. So when you want to write the formula, you're going to write first, you've seen you have got only 3 carbons. You're going to have carbon number 1, carbon number 2, carbon number 3. And then you start, since you know that propane, I mean alkanes don't have a double bond, okay, between any carbons. They don't have double bonds, they are all single bonds. And then start putting hydrogen. Supposed to have 8 hydrogens. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and then 8. So each carbon is supposed to have 4 bonds. 1, 2, 3, 4. That's for the first carbon. And then for this other carbon, 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 bonds. And then for the other carbon, 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 bonds also. So each carbon is supposed to have 4 bonds. So this is the structure for propane, and this is the formula for propane. Is this okay? Okay. 3 carbon atoms. Yes, yes. So alkanes are called saturated hydrocarbons. Okay, no. You see the kind of questions that are going to come. You after this class, you should go through and check through past papers. Okay, you see how the questions are going to come. Okay, so we are saying alkanes are saturated. What do we mean by saturated? They have no double bond. Okay, they have no double bond. So because they have no double bond, they are completely the carbons are complete, okay, with the hydrogens or other bonds. So that is why you are going to see this word in the exam. Why are alkanes saturated? Because they don't have any double bond. Right.